Final break this Tuesday afternoon. Afterwards, we're joined by Darren Lawler. He told me a great story, his own story, some time ago on the show, where he was a taxi driver and encouraged by his wife, he went back to study and he qualified as a barrister. But all's not rosy in the garden, as we're going to hear next. My next guest told me his inspirational story on Late Lunch a wee while back. He was a taxi driver and encouraged by his wife, he went back to study and he qualified as a barrister. Simply wonderful. But it's a bit of a different story when you actually are practicing as a barrister. Now, we know that certain barristers are paid telephone numbers more than radio presenters or television presenters. Gary Lineker's pay has just been revealed by the BBC. Anyway, he's back with me on the show to tell me about something that's happening on the 14th of July. It's called a celebration of failure. Darren Lawler, welcome back to the show.
Hiya, Gerry. How are you getting on?
I'm getting on really well. Like, I always remember you and your story and how it inspired me, and I'm sure so many listeners as well. Qualified as a barrister. The money end of things when you just qualify, it's not great, is it?
No, it's brutal. in simple words, it's brutal. What listeners may not guess or may not understand or just may not know is that if you get into difficulty tomorrow, Gerry, or if I get into difficulty tomorrow and if I end up in the courts, that there may have to be a bail application made and there may have to be an application for legal aid, and obviously a barrister or solicitor has to address the court for you. And consultations will happen before the court appearance, consultations with the guard, consultations with yourself or the accused, and consultations with your solicitor. And the fee for the barrister for that appearance is €25.20. Now, if on the next court date you were to plead guilty, and if you had to attend, let's say, medical professionals to get reports to kind of, help the court maybe understand or, see exactly what your background is that led you down this path, the barrister for preparing that would get €50.40. And if you plead not guilty, it goes to a full trial hearing in the district court with a judge and then the guards who are prosecuting you, and the barrister gets €67 for that. So, no, the money is crazy.
Has this come as a shock to you?
Well, it didn't come. Well, it has come as a shock to me when I went down to practice. But what more has come as a shock is that it's allowed to continue. I just find it absolute madness because in reality today, working at the shops paying 2023 prices on 2002 wages. Now, when the austerity cuts and penalty cuts happened, obviously I wasn't at the bar at that time. So I'm suffering the effect of something that had happened long ago. But the fees I quoted you were district court fees. And the district court fees, you understand, were always fairly low. But as society moves on, we have CCTV footage, we have mobile phone footage, we have, dash cam footage. And you often hear on the news that Gardaí are requesting footage to help them with a crime or solve a crime or investigate a crime. And the barrister at district court level and at other levels have to look through that footage to see what did or didn't happen. And that takes time. So the amount of time that you put into it, the money paid doesn't reflect the expertise or the amount of time or that kind of weight that you have on your shoulders, because you have somebody's liberty in your hands when you walk into court. So the fee is very bad. So was it a surprise? Well, it was. The bigger surprise is that it was allowed to continue for so long. And it's still permitted to continue, and it must stop.
I did say that there are barristers who earn really good money, fantastic money, and you hear about those that publish tribunal work, different stuff like that. But the ordinary, if I can, with no disrespect to any barrister, run-of-the-mill barristers working like yourself on the circuit, in the courts or that type of thing, you're not going to accumulate a lot of wealth.
No, I just want a fair day's pay for fair day's work.
Yes.
And the way it is that, people see the barrister wearing their gown and their tabs and they walk into court. They think there's this mystical, cash flow going behind them. The reality is my gown and my tabs is just like a mechanic wearing his overalls here or his or her overalls, or a nurse wearing what they wear, They're what we wear going into court. And we give a good quality service like everybody else. But the reward for that service, the remuneration for that service is very, very low, and it's pitiful. And people are just saying, I'm not going to practice criminal law. And people who are practicing in the district court are saying, I'm not going to practice any longer. It was actually reported today in Irish Legal News and Mary Carolan in the Irish Times that Professor Patricia Casey that she has pulled away from doing legal aid work when matters are referred to her. She has said that I've made a strategic decision to discontinue legal aid work due to the derisory remuneration from the state for this valuable and necessary work. And that's the key. If you're a doctor and a nurse or a consultant, you do valuable and necessary work. If you work in Tesco or Dunn's, you do valuable and necessary work. And when you're in the court, you do valuable and necessary work. Most public servants, I understand, have their pay restored from the temporary cuts and other cuts. We haven't. So is our work less valuable and less necessary than other people? So I'm not looking for a Rolls Royce. I just want a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. And also, I'm 50, Gerry. I went back to school very late in life. I left school at 14, went back to school 35, 36. And the reality is this is also to not only protect wrongly accused persons and victims of crime, but it's the students coming after us.
Yeah.
If we want to make, the medical profession or the legal profession as diverse and as open to everybody to attract them in, you're not going to attract them in with insulting pays that are going as low as €25.20. You'll get a pizza for $24.99 and you can pick 4 toppings. You'll get a barrister in the district court and you'll get everything thrown in to make sure that that case is done properly. So it's based on goodwill and it's obviously based on expertise. But in relation to the money, the reward is very bad and something has to be done.
So these rates, if these rates are adjusted upwards, that'll be a help. You work for yourselves, do you? Or do barristers engaged through practices, or how does it work? Just explain that to us.
Yeah, quite simply, if like as the example I gave, if you and I get into difficulty tomorrow, and if we're in the Garda station, the solicitor will come to the Garda station on most occasions, not all occasions. And that solicitor may brief a barrister to do that case. It's not because we're better than the solicitor. Maybe we're doing it more often than they do. So we could be in the district court and maybe they'll say, will you look after this matter? So we are self-employed, but we must be instructed by a solicitor to appear in a particular court at a particular time for a particular client. So it is self-employed work, but it's the state who pay the legal aid. But they pay it to the solicitor. And the worst part is when the solicitor gets paid, they give us half the fee on most occasions. So they have to give us half of what they earn, which is worse. So the fee comes from them, but the money under the criminal legal aid system comes from the state. Okay,
so those rates are the rates that need certainly to be looked at. Look, I see the way it operates now, and you're right, like someone like yourself, who is somebody who's gone back, educated, gone into this profession, loves it and has a passion for it. My God almighty, those rates certainly are pitiful. So with this in mind, a celebration of failure 2, an escalation of action, you're withdrawing your services from all courthouses on the 14th of July between 10 and 3 p.m.
That's the plan. So I'll be outside the Criminal Court of Justice on the 14th from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. And we're asking colleagues to do the same. Some colleagues are just a complete withdrawal of service. They're doing no legal work that day. Other colleagues are just not going to bother going into the courts, and some colleagues will be on the steps of the courts. So quite clearly, I'm putting this invitation out to the Minister for Justice. She's saying it's Pascal Donohue's department who was not unwinding these cuts. So we're asking the Minister for Justice to come out on the steps with us to support us in the celebration of failure 2. And also we're asking the Bar Council, to come out and support us fully in the celebration of failure 2, and asking all colleagues as well.
I can understand, when you talk about those rates as well, and, they are pitiful. They really are. They're small, and as you say, who would it or what would it entice to go down that road in the future? There are other jobs that pay far more than that, and the responsibility you mentioned that you have there towards clients and what you do. Anyway, it is another step on the road. I'm sure you're hoping there'll be resolution to this sooner than later. Anyway, you're enjoying what you do. Just to finish on a positive note, you're loving the work still, no regrets.
Gerry, I love what I do. I had a student in this morning who's starting off in her legal career. She was down to me talking about the King's Inns. I love students to come in. I don't want them to make the mistake I did, which was leave school at 14. I was lucky. I found someone who pointed me in the right direction. But on a positive note, I love what I do, but financially we're hanging in there, and hopefully we can hang in there a little bit longer. Please God.
You're a top man. Wish you well with all this and your colleagues. Thank you for talking to us again, Darren.
Take care, Gerry. Thank you.
Take care of yourself. Bye-bye. That's Darren Lawler there, a barrister, and the withdrawing services, as you heard, on the 14th. Well, we're withdrawing our services now until tomorrow at 1:30, of course. We'll be back. We will indeed.